On today's show, we look at Auston Matthews over-under goal total set by FanDuel, and it's time for another edition of the Maple Leafs Blind Rankings Goalie Edition. That's all coming up on today's edition of the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome into the Locked On Leafs podcast, a daily Maple Leaf-centric podcast hosted by myself, Mike DiStefano, and my co-host, Dave Morassutti. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more as playoffs wind down. The sport stops sporking like we want them to. This summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. What's going on, Dave? How you feeling on a Monday?
Doing pretty good. Normal things.
Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy yourself.
Yeah, brother's birthday. So had some people over, pool party.
Very nice. Very nice. Very nice.
Had a marshmallow. Did marshmallows and like bonfire marshmallows for the first time in a really long time. Really good.
I thought you were gonna say for the first time ever, and I was gonna suggest we stop doing the podcast together because that's absurd to go 30 years into your life without trying marshmallows over a fire. That would be absurd. Absolutely.
I haven't done them for years, but so good.
Well, yeah, I mean that's understandable. You know, we're grown adults now, and so we'll go to fires, but now instead of roasting mallows, we're usually got a couple sody pops next to us instead of a bag of marshmallows. But yes, not as often as we used to when we were children, but some s'mores, always good for some s'mores. I don't know about you. Anytime I think about s'mores, though, I always think about the scene from The Sandlot. It was like, how can I have some more what? He's like, you want s'mores? He's like, some more what? How can I have some more of something if I haven't had anything yet? Like, you're killing me, Smalls. It's one of my favorite scenes from my childhood. I always think about it anytime I think about s'mores. So appreciate you bringing that memory back up just now. All right, so we got an interesting show today. So we did this last week, and it went pretty well. I thought it was fun. Good little exercise that we were able to do. Gives us a chance to kind of reminisce, I guess, on the Maple Leafs of the past. So we're going to do another blind ranking. This time, Dave is going to give me the ranking to do, and we're going to increase it to 7 names. I felt 5, which we tried last week, was a little too easy. Because if you got like the first couple in the right slots, the rest kind of you can get pretty well. So I think 7 makes it a little bit harder. So we're gonna do a 7-pack for goaltenders today. It's gonna be a goalie edition. But before we get to that, I was actually just peeking over on FanDuel, one of our great sponsors here on the Locked On Network, and I noticed that they've got a bunch of the futures up for next season for the NHL season, and there was a nice novelty bet for Auston Matthews. They've got his goal total up available to wager on, and the over-under total. Do you know what it is?
I haven't seen it yet, actually. You mentioned it.
Take a guess what you think they set the total at.
I'm going to go like 58.5.
55.5. Yeah, I know. You taking the over there, Dave?
I think I might. The guy scored 69 last year. Like,
nice. Yeah, I know. Like, the guy scored 69 last year, scored 62 years ago, I guess, and he sandwiched that 40-goal season where I guess, I don't know if you want to call it a struggle, but maybe he struggled a little bit. But certainly, yeah, 55.5. I'm taking the over there. I think that he's, this is a guy that's going to threaten 60 goals each and every year. 55 almost seems like a formality at this point. You know what I mean? Like, he's just so good. And I was just kind of looking at it, I was like, okay, last year, is he going to hit 69 again? Is 70 a number that's attainable for this guy every year? I don't know about that. That does seem a little a little up there, a little high. It's not that it's impossible to do. I mean, the guy came 1 goal short of it. He only needed 1 goal in his last like 2 games. He just wasn't able to get it. But ultimately, I believe 56 goals, which would hit the over. Now that's something that's very well within reach of this guy each and every season. Even last year, like, okay, yes, 69 goals. Was his shooting percentage a little high? A little bit higher than typical. His shooting percentage was 18.7. His career average is 16.2. But if you put his career average to last year and how many shots he took, he still would have scored 59 goals if he would have just been on average. So if he shoots willingly the way that he did this past season, he should be, once again, right in and around that 60 goal club. So for me on FanDuel, I'm loving the over on that 155.5.
Yeah, I'm definitely think I'm going to be placing a wager too on there rather shortly.
And this is, I don't know, for those who aren't, betting people, you don't have to do this, but right now he is favored to also win the Rocket Richard, right? But it's minus 150 to win the Rocket. He actually has better odds just to go over 55.5 goals than he does to win the Rocket. If he scores 56 plus goals, there's a good chance that he's going to win the Rocket anyways.
Mhm.
But in order to win the Rocket, he's probably going to have to score 55 or more goals the way that, scoring has been up the last few seasons.
Yeah.
So for me, I mean, I'm looking at this guy, I'm thinking, you get better odds just taking the goal total as opposed to betting on him to win the Rocket Richard. So you could still go over 55 goals and not win the Rocket, and you still win your bet. Whereas the Rocket, you got to lay a little bit more juice, and you got to hope that no one else scores 56 plus goals. So if you're looking to make a wager on Auston Matthews on FanDuel, that's the one that I recommend. Just go with the goal total as opposed to winning the Rocket Richard trophy. Better odds. It's just better value. Just strictly from a value betting perspective, you're getting better value and better odds at the goal total as opposed to the Rocket Richard trophy. All right. Let's take a break. We'll come back and let's get into our Leaf blind rankings. Dave, this time you are testing me. And I got to rank these guys. So I'm excited for it. Should be a lot of fun. We'll get to that next here in the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. I love sports. I love them so much I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer games and the sports aren't sportsing like I want them to. FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All you got to do is open up the app, dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood, and bam. And this summer, FanDuel's hooking up all customers with a booster or bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. And like I mentioned, right now you can go over to FanDuel and you could put a wager on Auston Matthews goal total at 55.5. Do you think he goes over that? Do you think he goes under that? You can wager on it on FanDuel. So head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most of your summer. FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the Locked On Network. Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. Mike DiStefano, Dave Morassutti with you as we are each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday here throughout the duration of the offseason. Then once training camps kick back off, we're back to daily coverage where we'll be with you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, all the way through the regular season, playoffs, and into the first month of the offseason. So you're not going to want to miss out on any content we're bringing you. You can find it wherever you get your podcasts at on the go, and also get the video format up on YouTube. All right, Dave. So we did this last week. I tested you forwards, and this week we're going to try doing goalies, and it should be fun. We've expanded it from a 5-player ranking to a 7-player ranking. And do you want to explain what this the parameters of this list, Dave?
Yeah, so essentially the blind ranking is I'm gonna, like Mike did with me last week, if you watched the episode, was he's gonna throw out a name. I pretty much have to rank that player. Last week did 1 to 5, this week we're gonna do 1 to 7, and that player's locked in. I cannot change where I put that player. And at the end of the 7 names, we're gonna have a total ranking. And the whole point of this is we're blind to it. We don't know who the next name's going to be. We don't know. So we might slot someone higher, lower than we should have. I think last week I had Mitch Marner second in the
5.
forward ranking.
We can
I have
put him at 5.
Oh yeah,
Well, it's the last one. You had a chance. You had 1 and 5 available, but the last 2 names I had on my list was McGillney and Marner was the last name. So you had already said McGillney, and you had only 1 and 5. So you put him at 1, which automatically slotted Marner at number 5. So
and
that's
part of the reason I did that is I did McGillney once. Is okay. At worst, McGillney would be my first player. I wouldn't want some random scrub to be on number 1 on the list.
Like, what if I had said John Pohl or Jonas Hoagland, right? Like, you would have been pissed if that guy was at number 1.
Although there were quite a few people that are not happy with my Kyle Wellwood pick, which I can understand, but I also it was my first time really doing a blind ranking.
You're blind to the ranking. You don't know what's coming up next. I could have had Kyle Wellwood could have been the best player that I chose if I wanted to be a sneaky devil. And like you could do this for me. You could be a sneaky little devil, and you could have a bunch of scrub goaltenders like Ben Scrivens that you're about to dish out to me, and he may even be like the 3rd best goalie. Like, I don't know. We're about to find out. Let's embark on the journey, Dave. So so you're giving me 7 names, and I got to blind rank them this time. It's my turn to do the ranking. So hit me with the first name.
All right. We are gonna go with someone a little more notable, someone that we've known for if you're the 2010s, you definitely would have known this guy. Joe Bowen gave me one of my favorite nicknames for a goaltender. It's actually top 2. The Rhyme Minister of Defense, James Reimer.
Oh, there you go. Optimus Rhyme.
Yeah, that was a good one. Optimus Rhyme was a good one too.
They were both pretty good. They're both pretty solid. Yeah. Okay. Reimer. Oof. Thing is with Reimer, like I feel like he could be pretty high because we're only doing of the 21st century. So like from 2000 onward. So we're not using guys like Felix Potvin or Turk Baroda. No. And the Leafs really haven't had a lot of good goaltenders in the 2000s. So like Reimer could be in the top half at least. I am going to go ahead and put him. So we're doing 7, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to put him. I'm trying to think. Okay, so who else could possibly end up being on this list? Like how many better? I'm going to put him at 4. Reimer at number 4. Yeah. Because I think he was good, right? For the couple of years he was here, brought the team to a playoffs. They broke that playoff streak. It obviously did not go well. We all know that. But there's been much worse goalies, and you could even throw backups into this too. So I think I should be safe with Reimer at 4.
Yeah, there are a couple backups on here. So
yeah, a couple.
Yeah. Oh, I could have gone obscure on you, but
okay. All
right, you ready for the next one?
Yeah.
This gentleman here, he is a backup. I think he was during the Cujo Belfour era. Actually, a little more Belfour era.
Trevor Kidd.
Not Trevor Kidd, actually. One of my favorite names, actually, in the end, I don't know. I just always loved the way he's saying his name, but it's Michael Tellqvist.
Oh, Michael Tellqvist. Ooh, Michael Tellqvist. I'm trying to think. Like, what were his numbers when he was with the Maple Leafs? Do you have it pulled up?
Yeah, I got him just with the Leafs or in his whole career. I can do the Leafs.
With the Leafs. We'll go with the Leafs.
All right, so his career with the Leafs, if I'm reading, all right, he appeared in 40 games. He had a 16-16 and 4 record because we did have ties during that time. He had a .895 save percentage and a .301 goals against average.
Okay, Michael Tellqvist. I am going to. Oh man! So like when you told me there's a couple backups here, is one going to be worse than Tellqvist? Do you have one goalie that's like just so obscure and random that played like one game?
No, I didn't do that. I did it so that they played at least a minimum of 10 games with the Leafs.
Okay, that does help me with my ranking. You didn't have to give me that, but thank you because I'm going to put him at number 7.
You're going to put him in at number 7. Okay.
I am going to put him at number 7 because, I mean, if it's someone who played at least 10 games, it means that they're actually an NHL goaltender. And, Telkvist was decent, but, wasn't nothing to write home about. He was a backup. He didn't get a lot of starts 2 years in. I'll put him at number 7.
Okay. Not bad. All right. Next on the list is my favorite goaltender ever on the Leafs. Grew up with him. One, Curtis Joseph. Cujo.
Number one. Cujo is number 1 on the ice, number 1 in our hearts. I mean, we both grew up in the Cujo era. So Cujo, if he popped up, I knew that he was going to go straight to the number 1. I remember being so broken up when he signed in Detroit afterwards.
I cried.
Like the Leafs had gone. Well, the Leafs went all the way to the Eastern Conference Final. It's the furthest set. I mean, they haven't been that far ever since. And he said, "All right, I'm out of here. I'm gonna go to Detroit, try and win a back-to-back Stanley Cups with them." And Toronto did okay. Like they ended up getting Ed Belfour, so it's not like they went straight to a scrub. They got the late stages of Ed Belfour though. But yeah, Cujo was the best, and then Cujo needs to get into the Hall of Fame. Like to me, he's a Hall of Fame goaltender. And the fact that he's not is still very absurd to me. But certainly he's hands down the best goalie that we've seen in our lifetime for the Maple Leafs.
All right, so you have him at number 1. Next man on the list is another Leaf starter, a little more recent.
Okay.
Frederik Andersen.
Ooh, Freddie. So here's the thing with Fred. There's only one other goaltender that I'm worried about. I don't think you're going to bring him up. So I'm going to put Freddie at number 2.
Okay.
I'm going to put Freddie Andersen at number 2. I know that he gets a lot of flack and he became injury prone, but he really was a dependable goaltender for this team for quite some time. You at least knew what you were going to get with Freddie Andersen outside of game 7s against Boston specifically. But outside of those games, he was a pretty dependable goaltender. You know what I mean? And he played, 55 to 60 games a year. You knew that he was going to be dependable. And he won a lot of games for this team, right? The second that they got Freddie Andersen from Anaheim, they really turned into a bona fide playoff team. They made the playoffs every single year he was here, right? Now, granted, that was also when Matthews and Marner and them were in the fold, but I think that Fred Andersen deserves a lot of credit for what he was able to do in a Maple Leafs uniform for the 4 or 5 years that he was in Toronto. So yeah, I think there's only one other goalie who I think in the 2000s would go above Freddie, and I don't think you're going to bring him up on the list. So I'm giving him the number 2 hole.
Okay, so we got Freddie on the number 2 hole.
You can't be a scumbag and change up the list now.
Nope.
Can't do that.
No, not doing that. Not doing that. Would not do that to you. All right, so next.
Before you give it, let's take a break. We'll take a break and we'll come back and we'll do the final 3 names. We're about halfway through the list. I've got Cujo at number 1. I've got Freddie Andersen at number 3. At number 2. Sorry, my number 3 slot is still open. I've got James Reimer at number 4. 5 and 6 still open, and then Michael Telkvist at number 7. So I've got 3, 5, and 6 slots still open. Who will I put where? We'll find out on the other side. I'm Mike DiStefano with Dave Morassutti. You're listening to the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. All right, welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. Mike DiStefano, Dave Morassutti. We're doing a blind rankings goaltender edition, and Dave has 7 goalies that I have the pleasure of blind ranking in terms of who was the best goaltender for the Maple Leafs since the 2000s. I've got Cujo at 1, Freddie at 2, the Optimus Rhyme at 4, and Michael Telkvist at 7, which leaves spot 3, 5, and 6 still open. 3 more players left to rank. Dave, hit me with player number 5.
Player number 5 was another Leaf starter. He was in a famous trade. involving the Leafs.
He was a Leafs starter?
Yes.
A Leafs starter?
Yep. He was a starting goaltender for the Leafs.
Okay.
And by the way, this is not named this Leafs. So I'm not forcing Mike to remember. But
Well, I'm thinking Johnny Burns, I guess.
Nope. Actually, it was one Andrew Raycroft.
Oh, Raycroft. No.
I'm really opening up the wounds here, baby.
Oh, what could have been Tuukka Rask? What could have been Tuukka Rask?
We brought this up enough on the podcast. I'm like, I think we can safely put this guy's name out there just for anybody who wants to know how Andrew Raycroft's career with the Leafs went. He played 91 games with the Leafs. Mm-hmm. He went 39, 34, and 14. He had a 890 save percentage and a 317 goals against average, lasting just 2 years in Toronto.
That was after he had won Rookie of the Year too. Like,
he played 72 games in his first season in Toronto, by the way. 72
games. That's
he appeared in 72. I don't know if he started all of them, but 72 games he played.
Yeah, that's outrageous. Who would have been his backup at that point? Clemenson? They bring in Scott Clemenson for that those years? I'm trying to remember who it would have been. Justin Pogge around back then? I don't know if Pogge even really.
Actually, Michael Telfus played one game that year.
Okay.
And the other one, and I had thought about using this guy's name, but I didn't want to do that too because this would have been very tough. Jean-Sébastien Aubin. J.S. Aubin.
Okay.
Who famously almost got the Leafs to the playoffs. He went on like a 9-0-2 run, and the Leafs lost on the final day of the regular season.
Oh, was that when they lost to Montreal?
They beat Montreal. The New Jersey Devils needed to beat the Islanders.
Scott Clemenson didn't get it done.
Yeah,
that's it.
Because the New Jersey Devils decided not to play Martin Brodeur.
Yeah,
they wanted to give the guy the rest after playing him 73 games that year, something along those lines.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. I'm putting Raycroft Razor at number 5. I think he fits well at number 5 here. So right behind Reimer. Like, Reimer was the better goaltender, but you said that there's 2 backups. So again, you gave me some context clues and some hints that I did not need. You did not have to do, and it's helped me form a little bit of my list. So I believe there is another backup coming here at some point. So I'm gonna say Raycroft was better than that backup at 5, which leaves my 3 and 6 hole open.
Yes. All right. So the next man on the list, somebody who maybe people thought had potential. He won his first game. Famously, it was very emotional in his post-game interview. I remember that. I was also emotional too for some strange reason. I don't know. Sometimes emotions get to me. Garrett Sparks.
Oh, Jerry Sparks. Oh, Garrett Sparks, because he won like AHL Rookie of the Year. They had won the or AHL Goaltender of the Year. They had won the the Calder Cup with the Marlies with him as the goaltender. He was considered the goalie of the future, and it just never happened. They decided to put Curtis McElhinney on waivers, famously choosing Garrett Sparks over McElhinney, and it did not work out in their favor. What were Garrett Sparks' numbers with Toronto? Do you have those on hand?
I can get you that in 2 seconds.
Yeah, let's get that. I'm going to put him at 6 because I can't put him ahead of Reimer and Raycroft, obviously. So
he appeared in 37 games. He started 34 of those. He went 14, 18, and 2 with an 898 save percentage and a 309 goals against average.
Technically, he had better numbers than Raycroft. I wouldn't say he was a better goalie than Razor, but did have better numbers than Raycroft. All right, so that means that the next player on my list, I am forced into my number 3 hole. Who is it?
So initially, when I was preparing this list, I'm like, I can't give him too many good goaltenders. So Initially, I was going to put Ed Belfour on this list when I was putting together. I said, no, that's too easy. It's way too easy for Mike. So you are going to hate me for this one because I did say I was going to keep it to a minimum of 10 games with the Leafs. This one here, unfortunately, another Kyle Dubas signing that did not work out for the Leafs. He went through the goalie market trying to find somebody to help shore up the goaltending a little bit, a veteran guy, Peter Mrazek.
Oh, Pete Mrazek. Peter Mrazek has to slide in at number 3, eh?
Yeah. Now, Peter Mrazek outside of Toronto, not bad.
I mean, pretty good, to be honest. Like, he actually won some games and had some decent stats in Chicago last year, didn't he?
Last year in Chicago, he appeared in 56 games. He had an 18-31 record with 4 losses in overtime, and he had a 305 goals against average, a 907 save percentage,
which I think is about league average.
Better than what he did in Toronto. He was 12-6, so he did win more. He won 12, more games than he lost, which is good. Unfortunately, he had an 888, a 888 save percentage, and a 334 goals against average.
Yeah, not good. Not very good. Okay, so my list now is Cujo at number 1, Freddie Anderson at number 2, Peter Mrazek at number 3, James Reimer at number 4, Andrew Raycroft at number 5, Garrett Sparks at number 6, and Michael Tellqvist at number 7. Honestly,
it's not bad.
I feel like the only swap, like I think I would probably have Reimer at 3, Raycroft at 4, Mrazek at 5. I think that's it. So I basically would take Mrazek and slide him down to 5 and bump Reimer and Raycroft up 1 spot. Outside of that, I'm pretty happy with how my list turned out, though, to be quite honest with you.
I didn't want to totally throw you like crappy names. Do I do Enroth?
I'll be honest, you know what would have pissed me off even more than Mrazek? If you would have done Belfour, because I didn't think you were going to do Belfour, which is why Freddie I put Freddie at 2.
I will tell you this, it was between Belfour and Raycroft.
Well, it made sense, I think, to do that, to go with Mrazek, I suppose, but
it would have been too much of a 1-2-3. Like, it would have been too easy of a 1-2-3 for you.
But just goes to show, like, outside of Cujo and Fred Anderson, I mean, I guess you could have added Belfour. He's really the only other decent starting goaltender that they've had in the last 25 years. Just how bleak the goaltending has been. Like, Mrazek was signed here really to compete with Jack Campbell. It wasn't necessarily here to be a backup. He was here to be a 1B with Jack Campbell. James Reimer was developed to become he turned into the team's number 1 goaltender and a starting goalie for a few years. Andrew Raycroft, they traded for him to be this team's number 1 goalie of the future. That did not pan out. Garrett Sparks was supposed to be this team's goalie of the future, a number 1 goaltending prospect. That did not pan out. And Tellqvist, he was a backup. I think they traded for him. They gave up not a whole lot. Maybe he was a free agent. I don't even remember how Tellqvist got to Toronto, but
I think he was drafted by Toronto, if I'm not mistaken.
Was he? I remember him. Maybe it was afterward, but like I remember Tellqvist in Phoenix.
He was a 3rd round pick in the 2000 draft.
Okay, so he came through the system. All right, good for Toronto.
He didn't make it to the NHL until he was 23. Now, at the same time, the Leafs weren't exactly needing him to because they had Cujo at the time.
And Belfour.
And Belfour came after him. So, like, they just pretty much said, we drafted a backup. And
yeah, which, I mean, that's what they did with Dennis Hildeby, right? Artur Akhtiamov, right? I mean, technically, when Joseph Woll was drafted back in 2016, Freddie Anderson still had many years left on his deal, right? Like, Joseph Woll wasn't taken as like this guy will help us now. It's like down in the future, we'll see what happens down the road type of thing.
My worst Leafs goaltending situation they ever did was they had James Reimer.
Mhm.
Guy gets them to the playoffs. Ben Scrivens was around, and they kind of played it toe and toe. Then they go out and they traded for Jonathan Bernier, and it was like, who's the starter now? Like, because Bernier was like supposed to be the next one, right? Because he was behind Quick, and LA was looking to get something for him.
Well, he was like a first round pick too. Like he was a high draft pick, and there was a lot of expectation, and he was a big time goalie prospect, and didn't happen in Toronto. Why? Because they don't have no defense. Like that's all. That's been the Achilles heel for this team for years.
Bernier's numbers were
proper team in front of these goalies to even give them a chance either.
Like Bernier's numbers were respectable. 910 save percentage, 287 goals against average. The problem is they couldn't win. 33 wins, 40 losses.
That was like during the worst era of the 2000s for the Maple Leafs. Like the Kessel, Bozak, JVR, like the team wasn't competitive.
No,
like it wasn't until Matthews and them got there. Was Bernier did Bernier ever overlap with Matthews and Marner? Maybe that final year? Possibly. Or was Anderson already in town?
No, Anderson was here. He was because the Leafs traded for Freddie for 2016.
Right. So
because I think he did he go to Colorado after that?
Yes.
No. Wait, no, he went to Anaheim.
Then he went to Anaheim?
Yeah, he spent 1 year in Anaheim, then he went to Colorado, and then he was in Detroit, and then tried to stay with the Devils, and that didn't work.
Fun would have included in this list if I were doing it, just to be a dink.
Who?
I would have put J.S. Jaguar on this list.
Again, he was a name I thought of. Actually, that would have actually been a good name.
Did he play 10 games for the Leafs, though? He may not have played 10 games for the Leafs. Now, I didn't tell you to do that qualifier, to be fair.
No, I made that my own qualifier because he actually did. His career total, 48 games. He went 17, 18, and 6. 906 save percentage, 273 goals against average.
He played 48 games as a Maple Leaf?
Yep. He started 41 of those games.
So he was traded like midway through the season, I remember. And I guess he was there the next year and played half the game.
He played 15 games in that since when he was acquired. And then the year after, he appeared in 33 games. Made 26.
What year was that?
2009, 20. So 2010, he was traded to Toronto, and he was here till the end of 2011.
Okay.
Then he went to Colorado.
Yes, I remember that. I do recall that.
Funny enough, I was trying to think of like how was the draft for goalies in 2000? Because I was thinking of Michael Tubb was like 3rd round. I'm like, it seems a little high. Goaltenders taken in that draft: Dan Ellis, if you remember Dan Ellis.
Yeah, longtime Nashville Predator.
Ilya Bryzgalov.
Yep,
was taken 2000 draft.
Another Anaheim prospect, goaltender.
Yeah, he was 44th overall. We all remember Rick DiPietro
at number 1, the 101 pick. Yes.
Who was the forgotten one that people did not think to draft, but one team decided, let's take a Hall of Famer in the 7th round?
Pekka Rinne.
No. It was a European goalie, though.
Hall of Famer in the 7th round in the year 2000. So he would have finished up, I guess, in like the mid 2000. Henrik Lundqvist.
Yeah. 205th overall.
Wow. King Lundqvist, what a pick by the New York Rangers. That's where Toronto's never gotten that. They've never been able to do that.
Really, not really.
We'll see. Joseph Woll, though. Hey, he was a 3rd round pick. We'll see. We'll see what he can be. Be interesting. I'm excited for the goalie tandem and see how that all plays out for the Buds this year. It was fun. We'll do another blind ranking next Monday. On Wednesday, another edition of Cosign No Sign coming at you. So we'll do that for y'all on Wednesday. But that'll do it for us here today on the podcast. I'd like to thank you all for listening and supporting the show. You can subscribe to the Locked On Leafs podcast on all podcast platforms and receive daily Leafs content. Follow myself on X at Mickey_Canuck. Follow Dave at D_Morassutti, and follow the show as well at Locked On Leafs. We'll be back with another episode for you guys on Wednesday. But until then, keep it locked right here on Locked On Leafs.